Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing great today. This is Valencia Flyer coming at you wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing great. Thank you very, very much for stopping by the channel once again. Today, we're going to be talking about the 10 tips that I personally would like to give to you, the new flight attendant coming on the line. There is a lot to learn. Congratulations that you've made it this far. We love having you. This is wonderful. I have been on the line just about a year and a half to 2 years, somewhere around there. And let me tell you, from personal experience, there is so much to learn, especially if you're brand new to the aviation lifestyle. Training is great, it's wonderful, but honestly, that's just skimming the surface when it comes to the lifestyle that this aviation flight attendant world provides. So therefore, you have to really be patient with yourself, learning things as you go along, cool little tricks, cool little hacks, and then customization to your specific part of the country or lifestyle for yourself and your family. So there's a lot to learn. In my personal opinion, it could probably take about 1, 2, maybe even 3 years to really get things under your belt. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the 10 tips that I like to give you as a new flight attendant. Here we go. Okay, let's start with number 1. Learn how to bid. Now, depending on the airline that you're at, there's probably most likely some computer system of some sort. Maybe you even have it on your phone or some access to it mobily, where you get to learn to bid for your upcoming schedule. Now, me personally and my company, I typically get my schedule around the 15th, 16th, 17th of the month for the upcoming month, and I get the whole schedule of that month, right? We've talked about this before on the channel. But before we do, about 2 weeks before that, we go into the computer and start looking at all the trips that are for the upcoming month and say, okay, I like this trip, I like that trip. I don't want to work on the weekends. I need this particular Wednesday off or what have you. So you every month have to input into the computer what you're going to bid for the next month's schedule, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically going to get it, right? Especially being a new flight attendant on the line, your seniority is very low, but it's still a good idea to learn how to do, because there are some tricks, some little hacks that you're able to do to kind of, shall we say, massage the computer, if you will, to get your schedule the way you want it to be, okay? So really learn how to do that. There are a lot of ins and outs and a lot of tricks that you can learn. So learn to talk to your fellow flight attendants, even your local managers there at your base, so they can give you tips. But the point is to learn how to bid effectively for your upcoming schedule. Okay, tip number 2. Carry cash with you. Now, I think I've mentioned this before, maybe in one of my shorts or whatever, but it's a really good idea to always carry some cash. Not a lot of people do it. Most of the things I pay with are either with Apple Pay on my phone or whatever, or an actual card or credit card or debit card or what have you, but it's a good idea to have some cash. Number 1, we kind of need it to tip our drivers. Now, when we're getting shuttled from the airport to the hotel and then back from the hotel to the airport, we're individually tipping them because they're pretty much always a different driver. So we go ahead and tip that, maybe $1 or $2 depending on your situation. And then sometimes people even leave tips for the people that make up our rooms here in the hotel. Not to mention other little knickknacks. Maybe you want to buy some gum, which gum has gotten so expensive lately, it's crazy. But yes, so just make sure to have a little bit of cash on you and learn that you have your own way of how you guys want to tip your drivers, your stewards here in the room, and other things that you might need cash for. Okay, tip number 3, bring extra shoes. Now, this really depends whether you're a guy, a girl, whether you want to, wear high heels or you have workout shoes or whatever like that. But it's always a good idea to bring some extra shoes. I personally bring my dress shoes that go with my uniform, plus my extra shoes that I walk around the city and my layovers with and go work out in tennis shoes, sort of a thing. Sometimes even depending if I'm going to Hawaii or somewhere tropical, I'll bring some, sandals or something like that. that. So always bring an extra pair of shoes. They really come in handy. Now, I've even seen as far as some of the ladies on flights, they will wear their heels or nice dress shoes in the airport doing their whole thing. But once we're up in the air and once things are going and everything, they might change out into some shoes that are a little bit more comfortable, right? A lot of the ladies out there do that. I personally even had an issue with my foot once upon a time, and I even had to bring some extra shoes because I had an issue with my heel, so I had to bring those on. And when I got on the plane, I even changed it out to minimize the impact that I was having on my heel at that one point. But it's a good idea to go ahead and bring some extra shoes if you want to be a little extra comfortable while you're working, because up in the air, we're always on our feet. We're always getting up and down, you know. Someone wants an extra Coke or a blanket or a pillow or something of that nature. So it's really important, in my opinion, to remain comfortable and don't skim on your shoes. That is one thing I learned a long time ago. If you want to put money into any part of your uniform, probably shoes are probably one of the most important places to put that money. Don't skimp out on the shoes because they just make or break your day. So that's number 3. Okay, tip number 4. Now, this kind of goes back to a previous tip as when you're learning to bid, right? Now, this is talking about a little bit more how to customize your schedule once you have it, okay? So let's take you through it. Let's say you've gone ahead and done your bid. You're very low in seniority, obviously. You've customized your bid and your bid comes out and it's not exactly what you wanted. In fact, it's nothing like you wanted. I'm gonna go ahead and link my April 2025 reaction to my last schedule that I just had over here. And you'll see that's pretty much, even me being a year and a half on the line, it was nothing of what I wanted. So just expect that, it's all good. But the cool thing, and again, this depends on your airline, of course, right? But the cool thing is that once you have your schedule, within the first like 24 hours, the schedule is coming out, people scramble. You can see everyone scrambling on their phones or whatever like that in order to customize the schedule. So there's various ways you can do this. You can either put up a trip that you don't like up on your board for someone else to pick it up if they want to do that. Number 2, you can theoretically, possibly, if your airline allows this, trade it out with the computer. So if the computer has some extra trips that it didn't assign, you can go ahead and take that trip that you don't want and trade it with the computer for something that might fit your schedule a little bit better, right? Another way you can do it is if you have a lot of friends, maybe you guys can swap between each other. Again, depending on your airline, your system might allow you to trade trips between friends. Okay, so that's another thing. So just all these little tricks, you will learn to customize your schedule. So if you get your schedule and it's nothing what you needed that day off really badly, or you're going on a trip or something like that, not all hope is lost. Just learn how to customize as the months go on. I personally go on my phone and look at the schedule, look at what we call our open time, and see what is on open time to see of the trips that don't have flight attendants assigned to them yet. And then if I have something I'd like to trade, I will go and trade it with the computer, and then I can customize that a little bit better so I can make room in my month or the upcoming month schedule that I need off. Or if I have just the opposite, if I have something open, I probably should pick up a trip here. I'll just go in open time, pick something up, pop it into my schedule, and there you go. So I'm making a little bit more money that way. So there's a lot of customization options that you could possibly have depending on the system that you're working with, and that is how you're going to customize your schedule. So learn how to do that because there are a lot of tricks and hacks on how to do that as well. Okay, let's talk about number 5. Learn about your alternative ways to get to work. If you are a commuter, learn about your alternative ways on how to make it on time for your report time for your trips. Now, I was a commuter when I first got on the line, going to Detroit for a couple months. Then I was in Seattle for a little bit over a year. And now I am in Portland, which is only about 20-25 minutes away from my home. So I'm no longer a commuter, which is fantastic. But when I had to plan out my commuting schedule in addition to my work schedule, right? So let me give you an example. If I had a trip starting in Seattle let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was in Portland, I had to look at my schedule, make sure that there was open space on those flights because I typically did fly in as opposed to driving. And I would make sure that there was space. Maybe I can book a jump seat, maybe I couldn't, but I really had to figure that out. And if for some reason, all that goes out the window at the very last minute, I knew that I can jump in the car and drive 3 hours north and get to work on time. In addition to that, if that didn't even work, I also knew that there was a bus that would also drive from the main city of Portland to get to the airport in Seattle. And that was a third alternative way that I can make it to work. So I had to have like plan A, B, and C to make sure that I made it on time, because the one last thing I wanted to do is be late for work. That is not a good thing. You set a lot of things back for everyone, and you pretty much get busted with your managers there at base. So luckily it's never happened to me, which is great. But just make sure that you plan ahead and know what your alternative ways to get to work are if you are a commuter. Okay, tip number 6. Know that everything that you've come up with up until now, there's been a lot of planning, a lot of studying you've probably done, a lot of tests, everything. You made it. You made it through training, you got on the line, and fantastic. Again, congratulations. And there's a lot to take in. There's a lot to understand when it comes to knowing the policies, knowing the lifestyle, knowing the system. If you're a commuter trying to figure out how to get to and from work, all that sort of stuff, right? But here's my tip. Just know that everything is gonna be okay. All right. A lot of people tend to stress a lot, and it's understandable because it's brand new to them. It was for me as well. But just know that everything is going to be okay. Take it one step at a time. Make friends with flight attendants because they were in your shoes once upon a time as well. So make friends. Discuss with them, hey, how do I figure this out? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out together one day at a time. And next thing you know, you'll get to year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and then it'll be a cakewalk. It'll just be so automatic. But just know at the beginning, I'd say probably like the first year to 2 years, it's a little hectic, especially if you're a commuter. It's really, really hectic. But just know at the end of the day, everything is going to be okay. Take a deep breath. Everything is going to be fine. Okay, tip number 7. Don't forget to have fun at work. I mean, now take this with a grain of salt, right? But don't forget to have fun with work. Don't forget to have fun with some passengers. Don't forget to have fun with your flight attendants. Now, overall, we want to be very professional, right? We want to follow the rules, follow the policies, and we're there first and foremost as a safety measure, okay? If anything goes wrong, we're there to save lives. That's really the point of flight attendants, right? But at the same time, we also want to be very friendly, very approachable, while still being professional, right, on the line with our passengers. So don't forget to have a little bit of fun with passengers. They really appreciate it, especially those that aren't really keen on flying. There are some people that are, quite frankly, just scared of flying. There have been a couple instances when I had to calm a couple people down and actually sit by their sides a couple times and say, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. Oh, that rumble, no, that's totally understandable. Oh, we're flying this way and now we're doing this. It's totally understandable. It's just a little bit of wind and we're just pushing back on it. It's not a big deal. So I would have to sit down with them and just guide them through the flight, but at the same time having fun, maybe a little joke here or there just to lighten the mood. So make sure that you can have a little bit of fun with your passengers and your flight attendants, and that's just going to make your day much more enjoyable, just go much, much faster. Now, me personally, again, as you may or may not know, I like flying the A position, which is up at the front, first class. I like dealing with my customers up in first class. Sometimes some first class passengers are either working on the plane, don't want to be bothered, and you can kind of sense that. So even myself, I'm still learning to have a little bit more fun with my passengers because I do want to be professional above all, right? I want to be very helpful and professional, but now I still have to learn a little bit more of my groove on how I can have a little bit more fun and a little bit more interaction with them, show a little bit more of my personality with my passengers without overstepping. So that is even something that I'm still working on. So just don't forget to have a little bit of fun on the line as well. Okay, number 8, make sure that you have a work-life balance, okay? Work-life balance. Not everything has to be about work, so that you forget about things at home, especially if you have a family, a spouse, kids, etc. So you need to learn how to maintain that work-life balance. Now, within the first 1 to 2 years of being on the line, that might not be as easy, especially if you're a commuter, right? But eventually you get there. I know for me, the first full year of being on the line, I was nothing but work. I put all my other projects to the side. I had to commute. I had to really just focus on the job, learning what the job was. There was a lot of things for me to do within the first year. So my life balance wasn't balanced within the first year. But I knew that once I hit the 1-year anniversary mark, I knew I needed to start balancing things out a little bit. Start incorporating some of my other things that I have, other projects that I have on the side, being able to be closer to home and maybe spending a little bit more time at home as opposed to up in the air, right? So it really depends on your situation, of course, but over time you will strike a little bit better of a work-life balance. And that is very important, especially if you plan to be on the line for a long period of time. You have to have that work balance. It cannot be all work. Even though we're only working, let's say 70, 80, 100 hours a month, it takes its toll. It really does. For some reason, it just kind of wears on the body. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's the time change, the location changes, climate changes, weather changes, altitude changes, you're always going up and down. Our job is not initially very hard, but nevertheless, it does take a toll on our body. So sometimes we do have to take a step back and take a little bit of time to refresh ourselves. I know there's been times where I'm like, you know what? I just need to take about 5-6 days off and just like regroup myself, and it's very necessary. So just make sure to work on that work-life balance. It may not be so easy to do at the beginning, but towards the end of like the first year, maybe within the second year, it would be a really good idea to do. So don't forget the work-life balance. Okay, number 9. Now this is one that I'm still working on, but I know that it's necessary, so I'm gonna impart it to you. Number 9 is basically make sure to create a budget for yourself when it comes to food while you're working, and other little activities that you want to do, like shopping or whatever like that. I know that within the first 1 to 2 years, I personally think that is the hardest because you're earning the least amount of money. As time goes on, theoretically, you're moving up in the pay scale depending on your airline, but you still have to pretty much budget within the first year or two, especially if you are a commuter, where sometimes you either have to do a crash pad or you have to get yourself a hotel the night before for the trip the day after, right? So all those things cost money. Now, I know a lot of people go ahead and take their big packs full of food that they've packed or prepared at home, and they take it with them. And that's great. That works beautifully. And some people really got that down, especially those with special dietary needs. They really have that down to a T. I personally did try that, but for me, it was difficult because certain hotels that we were staying at might not have a fridge, or might not have a microwave, or might not have a good freezer or whatever like that. So in my experience, some of my food went spoiled or whatever, So at the end of that, I was like, you know what? Right now, I'm just not gonna focus on that. I'm just gonna have to buy food on the line. But that, of course, costs money. So just make sure that what works for you, and that you create yourself a budget. You won't know what that is until like maybe the third or fourth or fifth month of what your groove is when it comes to that. But it is something that you have to plan for. So just look into that, or what kind of money you can spend while you're away from home. All right, and here's number 10. So learn your work rules. Depending on your airline, you have a set of work rules that are applied to the flight attendants. Now, we're all human. Things happen. There might be a mechanical with an airline, or with an airplane that arrives late and things just go up in flames. I know we had a thing with CrowdStrike that happened last year that was a big old fiasco. So things will happen, okay? But overall, when it comes to learning your work rules, you know what parameters that you are expected to work in when it comes to your airline. So stick to those work rules and learn those work rules, because even though airlines do have your best thought, the best intentions towards you as a flight attendant, sometimes, to be fair, they kind of paint outside the lines. You know what I mean? And when that happens, you just have to know what is expected of you when it comes to work rules. So if you learn your work rules, you'll be like, no, I can't do that because the work rules say we do this. Or what have you, right? So it's just something that you should learn to protect yourself, to make sure that everyone is working by the same guidelines, so that you're, quite frankly, not taken advantage of. Okay, so again, this really depends on your airline. For me and my airline, I personally am very happy with my airline. No company is perfect, like I always say to my fellow flight attendants. No company is perfect, no airline is perfect, but I personally am very happy with the way that my airline runs things. I know they do their very best under the conditions, because to run a company like this is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, I think they do a really, really great job. But again, we're all human and things come up that we have to maybe pitch in a little bit here or there like that. But nevertheless, it is a good idea for you to learn your work rules so that you're covered, that you're protected, you're not taken advantage of. So make sure to learn that as you go. Now, that is a big ask too, right? And sometimes the work rules are written in like some other language that I've never seen before. I mean, it looks like English, right? But the way they write it is like kind of legalese, if you know what I'm saying, right? So if you don't understand something, just ask a fellow flight attendant that's been on the line for a long time. And again, you might get some extra tips and little hacks on how you can interpret these work rules. So just make sure to learn them. Okay, so here's tip number 11, bonus tip, okay? Know that word gets around. Okay, your reputation is everything, especially in this industry, okay? Make sure that you're easy to work with, you're approachable, you're professional, and just above all, you're a nice person. You're, just really cool, a great hang, you're good, your smiles, the whole thing, right? There is an interesting dynamic in the airline industry with flight attendants where word gets around, and word gets around very, very, very quickly here, especially depending on what base you're at. If you have a large base, word still gets around just as much if you're in a small base, okay? A lot of people will transfer from one base to another, and they'll take those experiences and those opinions with them, and then that reputation will follow over there. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure that you are professional, you're easy to work with, and because if you're not, word gets around there too, and it might make things a little bit more difficult for you, I personally have always respected everyone. I've always been very nice to people, shaking hands, smiles, great to meet you, great working with you, the whole thing. I think it's really important. I think it's very important, especially in today's day and age and the way things are right now. I think respecting one another and being very kind to one another is just more important than ever. It really, really is. And by doing this to your fellow flight attendant, it also will extend to your passengers, helping out, sometimes, old ladies come on and they're not able to put up their bags in the overhead bin. Technically, we're not required to do that, as maybe flight attendants were once upon a time. But I'm always there putting bags up, no problem. If you need some help, I'm here for you, especially if someone has difficulty to put up a bag above, So just be very kind and very, very sweet to other people, because that reputation will also follow around. So just know that your reputation is everything, and do your very best to be a nice person, a helpful person, a kind person, a professional worker, etc. It'll go very, very far in your years to come as a flight attendant. All right, guys, there are my 10 tips plus one for you for new flight attendants that are coming on the line. Again, congratulations. It is great to have you. I'm so very happy that you made it. And if this has been something that you've dreamt of for a long time, you're in for a huge treat. I really, really mean that. So congratulations. And for those who this channel helped out, thank you once again for looking at the channel, for paying attention to the videos. I really do hope it was a huge help for you in getting to where you are now. All right, guys, so here we go. Let's get to work, okay? So all the best to you in your new travels. I hope you enjoy all your hotel stays. I hope you enjoy all your layovers. And I hope you really enjoy all the crews that you're going to be working with on the line, okay? All right, guys. Thank you very much again. It has been great having you here. We will see you on the next one. Please let me know if you have any other questions, any other comments. We'll see them below. Consider hitting the like button, consider hitting the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. All right, guys. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.